Hi, welcome or welcome back to my channel. I'm Malaika, and today I'm going to be interviewing Ghida Ibrahim. If you haven't seen my first video in this series of interviewing women in tech, I'll link it up there. But this is the second video in that series. So, Ghida is a quantitative data engineer and a tech lead at Facebook. So, she runs lots of important tech projects, and she also does a few side projects that help less advantaged people. So I got the opportunity to talk to her today, and so let's get into the video.
Hi. So, do you want to introduce yourself briefly?
Yes. Hi, Malika. Thank you for
Hi.
having me. My name is Ghida. I'm an engineer. I work as a quantitative engineer for Facebook in London. I work mainly on analyzing and optimizing the infrastructure of the network. So that's my current work. And on top of this, I do a bunch of things that are kind of related to tech. So I did build the platform for connecting refugees to opportunities. I did teach data science and prepared like an online course on data science. And I'm involved with many NGOs working on bringing like more people and more minorities into tech.
Well, that's very cool. That's sort of what this is all about. So,
Yeah.
what was your education path like? Like, what did you do for school and university and all that?
Yes. So I started my education in Lebanon, which is my home country. I followed a very like French education system.
Oh,
So when it comes to engineering in the French system, you have 2 years of pure math and physics, and then you apply to get into like an engineering school, which is called Grande École. So I did that, and at the beginning, when I had to choose my specialty, I went for telecommunications, and then I switched to IT and networking. So I graduated like after 5 years of studies. I had the equivalent of a master's in computer
wow.
engineering, and then after that, I did a PhD in also in IT and network engineering. So my PhD was kind of interesting. I did it in France. It was between academia and industry. So I used to work like my PhD topic was sponsored by a company, and actually it was interesting for this company. So I had to like work on this topic for them, but also I had to produce like scientific content and use scientific approaches and stuff. So I had like an academic supervisor and industry supervisor, and then like my defense, I had both. So yeah, I did that. So yeah, computer engineering in French
Yeah. Okay. That's
education
fun.
system, and then like PhD. Yeah.
So, do you want to describe like a day in your life at work and like what projects you work on that that people can see? Because I know you work at Facebook, right? So I'm
Yeah.
sure the impact is high.
Yeah. So the interesting part is that like no 2 days are like exactly the same. Every day there is something new, and even when I kind of plan my days well in advance, I end up doing like something completely different sometimes during the day. But that's good because this means it's not boring at all. Usually the way I spend my day, and this was like more organized before this like corona like lockdown,
Yeah.
uh, was I try to do a mix of writing code, doing some data analysis, having meetings and talking to people so I can understand what are the priorities and what are the most interesting things to work on, and also to communicate like the outcome of my work. And definitely there is time to socialize with other people, to mentor other people. Many times these initiatives I told you about, Malika, at the beginning, like empowering more
Yeah.
people, minority to get into tech, I would do this also in the context of work. So we are very encouraged to actually do these things, like bring more people into tech and be involved in such initiatives or start our own. So sometimes I take some of my work time to do this as well. So yeah, but I try like every day to kind of code a little bit, do some like data analysis a little bit, and then definitely like the human part. Yeah, about brainstorming with other people, mentoring other people, helping other people out is also very important.
Are there any specific projects you worked on recently that are interesting?
Yeah, so like in the context of like the COVID crisis,
Mhm.
um, I think, I mean, I'm sure you noticed everything switched online.
Yeah,
I mean, we were already online most of the time, but with the COVID crisis, this like rate of like online time really exponentially increased, and like social media apps and products definitely were like the main target for this. So we have seen a very huge spike in traffic and in demand from users on apps like Facebook and WhatsApp, Instagram, and
yeah,
other apps as well. So since I work on the infrastructure side, like part of my job is really to make sure that we have enough underlying infrastructure, like enough servers, enough network resources like routers and so on and so forth, to carry all this traffic and to respond to all this demand. So for instance, if you're like, let's say you're viewing a given video on Facebook, you're going and accessing some server somewhere in the world,
Mhm.
probably next to you, like in London, because it's optimized. But then if too many people are accessing the same content at the same time and going to the same server, there is
There's
a
a
risk of
problem.
this
Yeah.
infrastructure running out of capacity. So we need to do something about it. So one thing could be to highlight when the infrastructure will run out of capacity and where, and then like what's the solution for it. Should we add more infrastructure? Sometimes this is not easily possible, and it cannot be done in a matter of hours or days. Sometimes this takes months.
Wow.
And another possibility is really to do some optimization on top, like load balance the demand in a better way, or like give maybe a lower content resolution, a lower video resolution, which many websites like Netflix as well did in order to cope with the traffic. So basically, like keeping the internet working in a time of like increased exponential, I would say, demand um, is really crucial. And this is like what
Yeah.
makes the world connected. So like being part of this and really like being a small part, of course, this is like an effort by a huge team, but even contributing to it and the capacity of understanding where is the risk and how to actually face it, to make sure that the internet is continuing to run and users are having internet connectivity and decent experience. Yeah, was something I worked on in the past few months, and it actually showed me like the real impact of my work.
Yeah, that's quite cool. Do you want to talk about your like smaller projects? Like I heard you founded Rafiki, which
Yeah,
helps like refugees. Do you want to talk
yeah,
about that? Because it's really
yeah.
inspiring.
Yeah, yeah, sure. So I did found Rafiki a few years back when I used to live in the Netherlands. This was before I moved to London and worked for Facebook. So I used to work for another company. And it was largely triggered by the fact that at that time, more refugees were coming to Europe, especially from the Middle East. And the Middle East is where I originally come from as well. And I felt that there was some kind of gap in terms of like integrating these refugees and helping them really find this first step toward economic integration and finding their next job. So at the beginning, I was kind of trying to help out whenever possible by really manually matching a person to a mentor or an opportunity, really leveraging my network to like match person X to person Y or person X to opportunity Z. But then I realized that with technology, this could be actually automated. Like I don't have to do it myself every other time. And also given that the profiles of people that need this kind of matching and the profile of opportunities available are very diverse, it makes sense to automate it and make it more like customized. So this was actually the trigger for building Rafiki, which is a platform that uses a form of artificial intelligence to do this kind of matching. So like I built the minimum viable product of Rafiki, because I'm not a full software developer, like I'm not like a web developer basically. But then the nice thing is that like this MVP got a good traction from users, but also it was recognized by many organizations as like a a promising project to help refugees. So actually, other people came on board and volunteered their time to work on this, including a refugee from Sudan who actually took like the MVP to the beta phase of this product, which is now actually live, and it's cloud-based, so it doesn't run on one server. It's like it runs on a bunch of servers, which makes it much more like scalable. So yeah, this is one project that I think really impactful is really impactful, and honestly, it was not like it's like the code needs a lot of work, but I feel like writing a basic code for this, a functional code, is still useful. So yeah.
Do you want to talk about who inspires you? And because I know you're very inspiring to me, but who inspires you?
Thank you. Who inspires me? So like when I grew up, Malaika, like when I was really like maybe a teenager or even like younger, I was very inspired by like all these famous people that left an impact, like Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Helen Keller, Marie Curie, across a range of domains. Sorry. Across a range of domains. So these were my biggest inspiration, and I'm still inspired by these people. But like my range of inspiration extended, especially in the past few years, to people who maybe are not famous. They are not necessarily known from like the general public, but I know are doing like their best day in and day out to make an impact and also to live a meaningful life. And I feel like a meaningful life is a mix of making an impact on society, but also making an impact on those that are like the closer to you. It doesn't really matter if you aim at like changing the world, but you're incapable of changing yourself or changing the few people around you, like your children or your partner or someone or your close friend, like someone really who matters to you. So yeah, I've become more inspired by people, including people from my family, like my sister, for instance, who is like a medical doctor, currently juggling being a mom and being a medical doctor with a lot of duties, and her husband is not here. He's also finishing his specialty abroad. So she's juggling so many things, and I feel like I find a lot of inspiration in her. And there are so many people like this around me. Your mom is one of them. She's my mentor, so this is how I met her initially.
Is there anything you would have wanted your younger self to know, or like any advice for people my age who want to get into tech but don't know where to start?
Yeah, so honestly, Malika, like when I got to tech by mistake. I didn't have a lot of like career mentorship and career coaching. And honestly, where I grew up in terms of like place and environment, I didn't have people working in tech around me at all. So I went to tech because it was like I didn't want to become a doctor. I was very afraid of blood and stuff like that. I didn't want to study law because I felt it involved a lot of memorizing, and I'm not great at it. I liked math a lot. I liked logic. So I was okay, maybe let me do engineering. And then when the time came to choose my specialty, I went to telecommunications at the beginning because I felt I don't want to be in front of a computer coding all day. And it's not suitable for a woman to be doing this. So this was like my thought process when I was maybe 19 or something like that. But then what made me change my mind is that I took like an elective in Java, and then I did some project, and in this project I was able to really build something from scratch, a program that actually did like basically I was able to program a microprocessor that allowed basically allowed me to send a signal like for the heater at home, to program the heater. And it was a very like simple and basic project, but being able to do this project and seeing that I was actually able to build something that worked made me believe in the importance of programming. And like made me basically see the beauty of building something. So this is when I was like, no, maybe I need to ramp up my programming skills, and maybe I need to take more courses in programming. And this is when I shifted toward like more computer engineering rather than telecommunications. So yeah, in terms of like, what was the question again?
Like, what is advice for people like me or students who want to
Yes,
get into
yes.
tech? Yeah.
Sure, yeah. The advice is really to kind of experiment. Like, don't say that this is something not for me. It could be that this thing is not for you. Like, don't force yourself into something. But at the same time, don't judge something as not for you if you have never tried it. So exactly like what I did was programming. I tried it, and then I figured out that this is pretty cool and pretty impactful, and this is something I would like to be able to do at least for a part of my life. So always experiment. Don't say no, especially when your no is coming from a place of like stereotyping. The other thing, don't judge yourself too hard. You don't have to be everything at the same time. So I tried to be everything at the same time, and sometimes I still fall into this, but then I'm more self-aware into like, no, don't do this. So eventually you can be anything you want to be, but maybe you cannot be it at any time or at the same time. So be aware of this. Be little bit not too harsh on yourself, in the sense that if you fail, that's part of life. It doesn't mean that you are a failure. It means that you experimented, didn't work out, and it will work out next time. So yeah, I mean, definitely don't be harsh on yourself. Give yourself the opportunity to fail and to experiment in as many domains as possible, including tech and technology and programming.
Thank you so much. I think that's it. All I have
Yeah.
to ask you. It's very fun talking to you. You're very inspiring as a person. You've done a lot. I
Thank you
watched
so
your
much.
TED talk. It's very good.
Thank you
And
so much.
yeah.
Thank you for doing this initiative. It's pretty cool.
So yeah, it's fun talking to you. Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So that was the video. Ghida was really inspiring and awesome to talk to. So I hope you enjoyed and you took something away from it like I did. And I hope to see you in the next one. Thank you.